This is the Golden Grappler, Travis Huckabee, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is yours truly, the hardcore princess, Jules Malone. And today you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey, this is Max Zaleski here from Without a Cause. Whack, baby. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey, this is Clutch Jesse V, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is the trophy boy, Tyler Klein, the designer to the wrestling world, and you are listening to the Wrestling with Entertainment podcast.
This is the smash hit Joel Bateman, Australia's premier deathmatch wrestler, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is the Obro Owen Brody, and this is Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers on Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code WrestlingWithE for 10% off your next purchase. I am, as of course, your host, James J., alongside the returning Coleco Yachts.
I apologize, world, for my absence. LeBron got kicked out the playoffs, so I went on a sabbatical at the Kanye West Ranch. I had to get my shit together, but I'm back.
Yay. And Scooter Dust.
Why settle for being a king when you can be a god?
And it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Obro, Owen Brody.
That's right. Obro Owen Brody is in the house to answer any and all of your questions.
Awesome. Excellent. Could you tell us what's coming up for Owen Brody and where we can find you on social media?
Yeah, so on social media, you guys can find me on Twitter at the Owen Brody. What I got coming up, I have APW, Atlantic Pro Wrestling, on the 26th. That's going to be on Fight TV. So we're making our fight debut. I'm making my internet pay-per-view debut, so it's going to be pretty exciting. I just won the North Atlantic Championship. My match should be announced by now. It's me versus Landon Hale. I don't know if you guys have heard of him at all. He's from down south. He's coming up to New England, try to take on the New England champ. We'll see how he does.
Ooh, interesting. And you have merchandise?
I do. So Pro Wrestling Tees, you can search Owen Brody. That'll bring me right up. We also have my group, the Syndicate. If you do the Syndicate in the search on Pro Wrestling Tees, you'll find all of our shirts there too.
And you also have a Twitch channel as well.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I forget that because I started doing it and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this Twitch thing. You can find me at the Owen Brody on Twitch. Thank you for bringing that up. You guys did your research. I like that.
Oh, that's hard.
And you don't even have to look for those links. All of the links will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox.
Awesome.
And you work for Limitless Wrestling as well, one of our favorite promotions. Could you tell us about your relationship with Limitless?
Limitless Wrestling, I go way back. I don't know. You guys have done your research, so you probably know this. I was in the first ever match. That's right. Look at you guys. Yeah, first ever match. Me and one of my best friends in the business, B.A. Tatum. We were in a 4-way tag match with the Influence, the Minutemen. I forget the other team. There was another team there, though. But yeah, the Influence, I think, took the win on that one. And actually, Mike Montero from the Influence, he and I got to mix it up in 2019, which was pretty cool, kind of bringing it full circle for us. So that was fun.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, Limitless, I've known Randy for quite some time. So I've worked for him under the Limitless banner. I've also worked for him under the Let's Wrestle banner. And then, doing the Limitless The Road tapings has been the most recent venture with him. That's been a blast.
Oh, we love ourselves some of The Road, for sure.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think the most fun we've had on that isn't even the wrestling. It's just the promos that we've got to make, because Randy really lets us have, full creative reign. He just lets us kind of make whatever, and we send it to him, and if he likes it, he puts it on. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't put it on. And for the record, he's never not put one on, so he likes all our stuff. That's great.
But that was actually my follow-up question. Has there been anything he hasn't put on? But that's incredible how much he believes in his talent and his roster.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's wicked smart, and he's super young. Like, he's got the world, he's got the world at his mercy pretty much when it comes to wrestling. There's so much that he can do. I mean, his commentary is like spot on, super awesome. And his mind for the business is just tremendous. So I love Randy. He's the man.
Oh, absolutely. Scooter, do you have a question?
Yes. Now, I'm wondering. Yeah, we'll keep this on wrestling for the moment. Now, Owen, you are one of the few wrestlers that does not have a comprehensive match listing on Cage Match. So, and I know you were born in New Jersey, in the Mid-Atlantic, New England regions are known for indie promotions. I'm based out of New York. I broke into the business with the NYWC with Alex Reynolds and John Silver, who have also been up by the Limitless way as well.
Yep.
What other promotions in the Mid-Atlantic, New England area have you worked for besides Limitless and Let's Wrestle?
So a lot of the promotions that I worked for were based in Maine and Massachusetts. So I worked for Liberty States Wrestling, which I don't think is running anymore. I've been wrestling a lot longer than people realize. The first time I stepped in a ring was in 2004. That was at a fantasy camp. Steve Bradley, who used to work for WWE and then opened up a school.
Superman Steve Bradley?
Yeah. What's that?
Superman Steve Bradley?
The Mofo Steve Bradley. I think he went by Superman somewhere.
Yeah.
When I met him, he was the Mofo. He's awesome. But yeah, so he did this show in Newport, New Hampshire, that I went to as a fan, and on the seats he had little flyers for this fantasy camp, and somehow my mother got a hold of the flyers. I was like 20 at the time, or maybe no, actually I don't think I was 20. I think I was 19. Either way, my mom got a hold of the flyer and signed me up for it. And it's kind of a surprise. And she was like, make sure you're free this weekend. I got something for you to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. Not knowing that I'm going to go learn how to wrestle for like a weekend. And it was just really cool. Like, you got to go in and basically Steve just taught you how to take bumps and do very basic stuff just to kind of get your feet wet with it. And after that, he was like, hey, do you want to sign up and do this? And it was no questions asked. I want to do this. So I saved up some money and was able to start training. And then, with Steve's school, a lot of his trainees, worked security and ring crew and stuff like that. And with my job at the time, I was working in retail. So it was really tough for me to get time off to make it to the shows. And as being younger and not really understanding the business, I didn't understand the importance of that. I was like, oh, I can't make the show. Like, oh, well, like, not a big deal. Like, So I didn't get to wrestle on a show for a long, long time. It was just training. And then, I got to kind of a crossroads where it's like, okay, I have the opportunity to get promoted in my real job or go do wrestling. And it's like, I don't want to live with my parents for like a long time. I want to have my own place. And so the promotion in my real life was attractive. So I kind of took that over wrestling for a little while. And I took some time off and I came back when I could and I trained when I could. And then unfortunately, Steve Bradley had passed away. So it was like, I don't have a trainer. I don't have anywhere to go to wrestle. So it was maybe 4 or 5 months after he passed. Mr. Spellmont, which I'm sure you guys know who she is.
Yep.
she reached out to me and said, hey, I started training at this other school with Maverick Wild. You should come down. And so I went over there, and that's where I ran back into B.A. Tatum, who was not B.A. Tatum yet. And I started training with Maverick Wild, and then Jeff Costa got into the mix. Lobster Man, I don't know if you guys know him at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I started wrestling for his promotion, All Star Wrestling. I did some shows for him. He was tag team champion with this kid, Sean Sharp, I think. I think that's what they called him. I forget. I have a terrible memory sometimes. So a lot of that time I was a different character. I had this terrible name. It was Cameron Blaze. I hated it. Absolutely hated it, because it's terrible. They're like, all right, yeah, like, you're fast. And I remember like him and Lobster Man just like sitting there thinking like, what are we gonna call him? And they came up with Cameron Blaze, and I was like, yeah, okay, like, we'll do it. And it was just not, it was so bad. Like, and my gear too was like super generic, it was like first real gear, and it's just crappy. Like, I mean, it looked good, but it just didn't fit. Like, I didn't understand that aspect of it. And Lobster Man and Maverick Wild taught me a lot of that stuff, especially Lobster Man. He taught me a lot of that character kind of stuff. And it's funny, like, there are things that I brought to him and was like, hey, do you think this would work? And he, no, that only works on TV, kids. So I was like, okay, well, all right. So I'm starting to understand like what works in independent wrestling, what works on, mainstream TV. And he would explain like the intricacies of it. Like, a fan isn't going to get like certain things without, the commentators explaining it.
Right.
Or without the big entrance and that kind of stuff. So it was really interesting. I learned a lot from him without even having to step in the ring to see, his mind work and pick up things that I use, every time I'm out there.
Oh, all right.
But yeah, so then from there, the Owen Brody thing. So Owen Brody, right? I'd moved to Maine. I met a wonderful woman who is now my wife. And we had our first child. She was pregnant with actually, no, I take that back. We had Maya at this point, and I had gone to a wrestling show. And my buddy Adam Murdock, who's in the Syndicate with us, he goes, that guy over there, his name's Larry Huntley. He trains people. And I said, oh, really? And I was like, okay, I'm kind of like watching these guys wrestle. I have the itch now to like get in the ring and do stuff. And it'd been like maybe a year and a half-ish since I'd been in a ring, probably less though. So I went up to Larry and I was like, hey, like, I heard you train people, and I was curious like when and where you do it, because I'd love to talk to you more about it and sign up and do whatever. And he goes, oh, who'd you train with? And I said, oh, I trained with Steve Bradley in Manchester, New Hampshire. And later on, I find out that a lot of people kind of lie about that. And they say, oh, yeah, Steve trained me, because Steve had a very well-known name as far as a trainer, so people would give him a shot. So Larry tells me, yeah, I usually run classes before shows. All right, no problem. So he says to me, here's the address. He writes it down for me. The ring will be there, all set up. Meet you there at 2. And I was like, okay, cool. I show up at 2. There's nobody there, not a soul. And I'm new to the area. So I'm like in this town I'd never been in. I lived in Maine for like, at that point, I think almost 6 months, but I hadn't really gone anywhere other than the town I lived in and the town I worked in. And then Portland, obviously we went to Portland every now and then. So I had no idea if I was even at the right place, and I had no contact information because I just had this scrap of paper from a wrestling show and an address. So I'm thinking, okay, I got ribbed. Cool. Like, learned my lesson. And then I'm like, at the moment, you get to that moment where you're like, all right, I give up. I'm just going to go home. And I see the ring truck pull up, and I go, okay, I'm at the right place. He wanted to see if I'd stick around and wait. So then I help him load the ring up and everything. And I get in the ring, and we set the ring all up, do the whole deal. I get in the ring, and he goes, okay, do this. And he has me do just a couple things with one of his trainees and like, taking bumps on my own. And he goes, all right, good. You're not lying to me. He goes, you're working tonight. And I go, what? Because I had just shown up, and he's like, yeah, you're working tonight. I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, you're working against me. I'm like, okay, cool. He goes, what's your wrestling name? So now I'm like, I have a split second to either continue to be Cameron Blaze, which I hated, or I can come up with something real quick. And when we were pregnant for my oldest daughter, we were like, oh, if she's a boy, I really want to name her Owen. And my wife was like, oh, I kind of like the name Brody. And I was like, what if we named him Owen Brody and our last name Roberts, Owen Brody Roberts? Like, that'd be pretty cool. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, I could call him my little Obro. And so when he asked me what my name is, that's the first thing that popped up. And I said, I'm the Obro Owen Brody. And he goes, okay, cool. And I'm like, all right, we're off to the races. And he tested me a lot that night, right? So, like, obviously waiting for the ring truck, then setting up, and then doing all the drills that he wanted me to do. Then we get out there, and he goes, okay, he goes, here's the thing. He goes, my legs hurt. I can't really do a lot. It's going to be a real quick match. I just need to be out there in the crowd because the crowd's expecting to see me. We're going to, kind of dance around a little bit, tie up, and bring you to the corner, swing at me, swing all the way around. I'm going to give you a Death Valley driver. 1, 2, 3, we go home. Beautiful. Nice and easy. Easy night for me. So we get out there, and the referee's checking my boots and, doing all that stuff. And he looks me dead in the eyes, and he goes, hey, Owen Brody, change of plans, and then steps away. And I'm like, okay. So then Larry's like circling me, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And he's like, tie up, kid. So we tie up, and then he's like starting to call stuff just to see if like I'd listen and like do whatever, and just to kind of get another, viewpoint on what I could actually do in the ring. And it was still a short match, but I did, what he wanted. And then from there, like Larry's booked me all the time for NAWA, and we had a little title run there. And then that's, I started working for IWE, and that's where I met Randy, and he was like a young kid ring announcing, and yeah, and then Limitless happened. I mean, there's a whole, I could go on and on about my main wrestling history, but I won't bore you guys too much.
Oh God, this isn't boring.
We live for this. What are you talking about?
Okay,
This is why we have a podcast, damn it.
All right. I'll bite then. So I started working for IWE. So I guess Eric Johnson used to run that promotion, and I went and worked for him for a little bit. And then like people in Maine for wrestling get really territorial, and there's guys who are like trying to backstab other people, and I'm just like, man, I just want to be friends with everybody. I don't want to deal with this. So this guy goes, they were doing the show at Thatcher's, this restaurant in South Portland, which they were a blast. We'd have them outside. They were awesome. And IWE was running them. And this guy, Joe, was like, hey, I want to start running shows here, and I want to build it all around you and to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, sure. And so he started running shows, and they all were kind of at odd times where like I couldn't make them. And I was like, all right, he's like, all right, we're going to bring you in. He's like, we want you to do something. And I said, what if I sit in the crowd the whole night? And he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, you're having a battle royal. What if I sit in the crowd the whole night, and then I jump the winner of the battle royal from the crowd? And he's like, yeah, okay, that'll be cool. I was like, don't tell anybody. So he didn't tell a soul. He told, obviously, Murdock, and he told Blade Bandit, right? Me and Blade Bandit go back really far, too. We go back from Steve's, which is awesome.
And the security, obviously.
So, what's that?
And he would have to tell the security, right?
Yeah. Yep, of course. Actually, though, there was no security at this show.
Oh.
So everything worked out perfectly. So I'm in the crowd. There's not a whole lot of people in the crowd. There was probably like 25 people. They didn't really do a good job promoting it. So I'm sitting in the crowd, and I'm like, well, I hope no one notices me, because I've been wrestling up in Maine like frequently. So it's like, I hope, no one recognizes that, hey, that's a wrestler. I've seen him before, So I kind of like had my hood up and just kind of sat in the back. Well, the end of the match happens, and I run in the ring, rip my hoodie off, and I just start beating down Blade Bandit. And I throw pretty believable punches. So I'm just drilling him. And luckily, Murdock was the second to last person eliminated from the Rumble, because 4 or 5 of the guys in the back were trying to get to the ring because they thought a fan had jumped in the ring and was beating the crap out of Blade Bandit, which I found out later. So I'm literally like just beating him down. I go, all right, see you later, pal. And I left. And as I left, like people came out, and I went out the back entrance, or out the main entrance. I came in the back to say hi to all the boys or whatever. And then we were off to the races. But the problem with it is the guy who was running it, Joe, I don't really know who was in control at that time. All I know is that Joe had like worked me into that angle. And then next thing I know, like I'm writing the shows. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start writing angles and see what happens. And we were actually able to like, with the original Syndicate angle, where the actual like formation of me, B.A. Tatum, and Murdock, and then we had this guy Gene with us too for a little while. That formation brought the whole storyline, brought the crowd from like 30 people to almost 200 people, like where you couldn't fit another person in this area. So it was really, really cool. And it was awesome to kind of get like my first taste of booking, but I didn't let anybody know that I was the one writing the stories and writing the angles and like booking the show. Cause I didn't want people to think that like, oh, he's booking himself, like I never made myself the champion, but we did have a lot of like, there was a lot of storytelling. Like there was a lot of promos. We'd come out, we'd cut promos in the ring and stuff like that. But it was to progress the story. And a lot of it came off really, really good. And that's around the time that I went to Limitless, actually. Yeah. That brings us back to Limitless.
All roads lead back to Limitless.
Right? All roads lead back to Limitless. That's true.
Kaliko, you have a question.
Man, I don't know. I feel like I want to dig into the story longer, but
if you want, man, like I got no plans.
That was like great. How like it's funny how that all comes full circle, and I also wanted to ask you, because considering you did write for yourself and you wrote for your group, the Syndicate, and it shows like in the promos and the videos that you do, and it is so funny. I just saw the one. I just saw the one where y'all were like Syndicate mount up, and then it was like, what's up? And then some poor random dude just goes, what's up? And everyone's like, what the fuck? Who the hell is this dude?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's private. Pritte. So to me, it's just funny. I just wanted to know, like, did that just, like, by doing that, like you said, it gave you the confidence, and it shows with you on the road. So considering that you're doing all these different bookings now, since everything's open and you're an Atlantic Pro, do you see yourself booking anytime soon? And do you see the similarities and the differences, or the pros and the challenges of that, especially when you're booking yourself as a whole storyline versus, is it easier for you to go up to another promotion and go, hey, I got this idea, considering you got your resume cred already up?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of times where like even I'll give you a good example. So in Let's Wrestle, Mike McCarthy had cut a promo, and he sent it to Randy, and he sends me a text, and he goes, "Can I call you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, shoot me a call." So he gets on the phone. He goes, "Hey," I cut this promo for Randy, and I realized that I said you can pick the match. So what kind of match do you want to have? And I was like, give me like 20 minutes. I'll come up with something. So I got like a little scratch pad out, and I'm like thinking like, it's got to be something cool. And it's also got to be something that Owen Brody would do. So if someone says you could pick the match, like I got to be like, all right, cool. You're getting in shit now. And it's just like, I thought about it, and I was like, okay, what if we did this? This is how most of my stories start when it comes to booking. What if we did this, right? So what if we did a Syndicate gauntlet match? And in order to get to me, you had to beat the other two members of the Syndicate. And he goes, I love it. And I was like, this is going to be perfect. I said, because you're going to beat Murdock, the biggest guy in the ring. He's going to fight you first. I was like, but you're going to do you guys are familiar with Mike McCarthy? He does the booger thing.
I've seen the match.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he did the booger deal, put it in Murdock's mouth, and then Murdock got counted out because he was like trying not to puke outside the ring, right?
Yes.
So I was like, it's a good way to keep Murdock strong. He doesn't actually get beat. I mean, he got a booger put in his mouth. Who's not going to believe that that's gross?
I mean, it's still, you lost because you put booger in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's still good though, and it's fun, and the crowd loved it. Like at one point, I don't know if it got caught on tape. I was dying laughing. I was really trying hard not to laugh, and Murdock like went in like front of a fan, and they all like scooted back wicked quick, and I broke. I had to like turn around and like put my hand over my face and just like try to be angry with my eyes because I was laughing. It was so bad, so funny though. But yeah, I mean that was like an option where like, or an opportunity where I was like, hey, Randy, like, what do you think of this? And Randy was like, dude, I love it. Make it yours. Like, have fun with it. And then it was, hey, Mike, like, do you want to do like this kind of a match? Does this make sense for you? So, it was cool to be able to kind of come up with all of that and have everybody kind of let me, I guess. Like Randy could have easily been like, no, that idea is terrible. Like, but he had the faith in me to know that if I have an idea like that, I can execute it. So it felt good to be able to do that. And it's tough going into a new promotion and then pitching that kind of stuff. Like at APW, like it's a little bit, I'm not as close with, the higher ups and the bookers, so to speak. Right. Because I'm just kind of a body for them. So I have ideas. I haven't pitched them yet, but I have ideas for like things to do there. I definitely, when it comes to like our matches and stuff like that, like everybody I've worked with it's been great, and they don't, the management there doesn't micromanage and say like, hey, the finish needs to be X, Y, and Z. They just say like, do what you do to entertain and have fun, and this is the story we're trying to tell. So yeah, it is tough, but I have the confidence and the credibility to back it up, so that does help.
I'd just like to say, that match, the Syndicate Gauntlet match, that is such a heel match. It was great. Because you had the two guys that, he beat them, he gets to Owen Brody, he's gonna get his pound of flesh, and then you got over on him.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing too is like, I think about it like, what would Owen Brody do in this situation? So I'm gonna send the big guy in first. And then that fails, so it's like, I got to think now. And so B.A. Tatum gets in, and he had, a good portion back and forth with Mike. And then I wanted B.A. Tatum to hit him with a chair, so B.A. Tatum gets disqualified so that I can get the win. And then, things backfired. Mike McCarthy got a little bit of heat on me, and then I ended up beating him, with a small package, just rolled him up real quick, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. The crowd seemed to like it. It's one of my favorite matches that I've had.
And, it seems like, you're really feed off the crowd energy kind of guy. So that being said, what has it been like to wrestle in the pandemic era of wrestling and in front of no crowd?
It's been different. So working the road tapings, to be perfectly honest, was a little bit more like, I don't really get nervous before matches. Like usually the match before mine, I have to pee like twice, but like that's about as nervous as I get. I go out there and I do my thing, and I try not to, when it comes to talking over my matches, I try not to do like, okay, we're going to do A through Z. I like to be like, okay, like we'll do this, and then maybe if this happens, we'll do this. And, so I try to kind of have a looser format because it's easy to kind of feed off the crowd. If they dig what I'm doing, like I'm just going to keep doing that. But when it's a crowd of your peers, it's different because it's like, okay, they're watching me. Yeah. Like they're watching and they want to be entertained because deep down we're all wrestling fans. If we weren't wrestling fans, we wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
But when it's like, you got people who, were on AEW Dark or like going to be on AEW Dark soon, and they're like, hey, like I'm just going to be sitting here watching. It's like, damn, it's like there's all this added pressure that I put on myself, and Murdock always says it, that I'm my worst critic because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I do like, really deep down analyze my matches when I'm watching them, and wrestling in front of the road was a good learning experience because you're always learning in wrestling, no matter how long you do it, you're always learning. And it was a cool dynamic because you had the crowd there that popped for everything and did what, you kind of wanted a crowd to do. But it was good to get the feedback from so many people because I know like when I wrestle a show, I'll usually pick like someone that I have, a lot of respect for with their opinion. and I'll ask them like, hey, can you watch my match? And then I'll sit and talk to them about it, and they'll give me feedback. And it's always stuff that I, take in and digest. And I say, okay, that's great stuff. I'm going to change this, this, and this. Or they'll tell me what I did good. And I'm like, okay, now I need to keep doing this, this, and this. But when you got like 20 of your peers watching your match, it's like, it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of like, a lot of pressure.
A little nerve-wracking, right? Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Where shall we take this?
Don't forget the Burger King question.
I'll Burger King you.
Burger King question. Let's go with that one. Let's see.
And unfortunately, that's reserved for our Australian guests.
Oh, okay.
It's more of an inside joke at this point.
Oh, perfect.
Now
that's like half the Syndicate promos are all inside jokes between us.
Now, you mentioned that your mother surprised you with that fantasy camp, and most parents, when they're told by their kids that they want to wrestle, they don't take their kids seriously. But your mother defied that constant. Is she still supportive of your wrestling today?
Yeah, so my mom's super supportive. She does get nervous when I'm out there, but she's gone to a couple of my shows. It's actually funny. Do you guys know I booked Impulse Pro Wrestling?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So my mom did the music for a couple of the shows for Impulse Pro. Yeah, she has like a karaoke business on the side, so she has all the equipment and stuff.
Okay.
So we're going to music. We are so going to music.
It's awesome. If you want to go to music, we can go to music.
No,
I'm sorry, I interrupted. That just got me. That just got me. Boy, that just got me. Yeah, that just got me on it. Sorry about
no
that.
Worries.
Continue.
But yeah, I mean, both my parents have been very, very supportive of it. My mom, I had to tell her one time that I was gonna, fake an injury, and I wasn't really hurt because it's part of a heel angle. And she was like, okay. And I was like, I know I need to tell you that because if not, you'll probably run to the ring, and that would mess up the whole angle, Mom.
Because then you turn face because your mom came to help you.
Yeah, well, so the first Impulse show we did, we did it right across the street from my house. So I'm the baby face. So, we had to do a promo where I basically turned heel, and the baby face that came out, was heel at first and then turned baby. So it was really, we had to do that promo to set it all up, but it was a lot of fun. And then they hated me after that. So it worked out.
I know Kaliko really wants to get into music, and I have a feeling we're going to have a lot with that. But there's also another aspect that and I believe James kind of want to go into, and that's from going over your Twitter. It's apparent you're a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh, I love Star Wars.
You even have the same animatronic Grogu that I have.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm even wearing a shirt right now that says, "I don't want to grow up," with Grogu's face on it. But
that's awesome.
My wife enables me with that. But let's get your opinion on what were your opinions on the prequels and episodes 7 through 9.
So it's actually funny. Me and B.A. Tatum had this conversation not that long ago, because when Disney Plus came out, I went through and watched all the Star Wars movies again because I hadn't seen them in a while, and I was like, I said to him, and I'll pose this question to you guys too: would people have hated the prequels as much if they were the first movies? So my thought on it is, I don't think they would have, because I really enjoy that story arc. Anakin to Vader. I enjoy that story arc, and I think it was done well. And I'm glad they didn't cram it all into one movie, because that would have sucked. But the overall content within those movies, there was some stuff that hit, some stuff that didn't. And the point that B.A. Tatum made was well, if they did that, the middle trilogy would never have happened, because they wouldn't have made enough money and wouldn't have had enough to do the original trilogy like we remember. And I said, yeah, that's kind of a good point. Like, they might have gone a different direction with the original trilogy if those 3 movies came out first. But I enjoy all things Star Wars. So if someone told me I can only pick, one Star Wars movie, then it's not going to be any of the. It's going to be Return of the Jedi. I mean, that's what it's going to be.
Ooh.
But I enjoyed the prequels because of that Vader story arc.
Yes.
Now with the 7, 8, and 9. I enjoyed those too because of the Rey story arc. I thought that was really well done, and I enjoyed they were more of like an action movie and didn't quite have that sci-fi-ness to them, like the original trilogy. But I enjoy all things Star Wars, man. It's tough for me to be like, oh, that movie sucked. Some people hate it so much, and I'm like, oh man, I just enjoy Star Wars. Like, it's cool to me. There's just different types of Star Wars.
Now, I have a follow-up question. When you do watch the whole trilogy, do you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or do you go 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3?
Or do you do the hammer cut? The what do they call it?
The Snyder cut?
No, where it's done in.
Is that where you do like 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really like doing them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because again, that progression of Vader. And then when I'm going to embarrass myself a little bit, it took me forever to actually sit down and watch Rogue One. So yeah, Rogue One, I was really late to the party on that one. It just slid under the radar for some reason for me. I don't know if I just didn't I don't know. I totally missed it. But I watched that and was like, this is awesome. And I loved how Rogue One, spoiler alert, guys, Rogue One ended right where, episode 4 starts.
4, yeah. As I call it, episode 3.5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I was going to watch them, I would definitely put Rogue One right there in between there. I'd have to watch it. I couldn't go from episode 3 to 4 without putting Rogue One in there.
All right. And one final Star Wars question.
Sure.
Have you sat down and watched in whole the infamous Star Wars Holiday Special?
I have not actually. I've tried to find it, and I go through phases every holiday season where I try to find it somewhere, and I almost got a bootleg copy off of eBay, and I was not quite sure it was legit, so I didn't do it. But yeah, I'm like, oh man, I should just get it somehow. Probably not legally, but get it somehow so I can watch it. But I have not seen it, no.
And last Star Wars question: did Han shoot first?
I gotta say, Han knew it was coming, so I think he did. He knew it was coming because he knows. So bam, he was gonna let Grado get that shot off first.
Yeah. Not clunky.
And Kaliko, you finally get to ask your music questions.
Hey, I was gonna stick with the script. Hey, man, give me some slack on that. Because he's also a fan of Mortal Kombat, so we gotta also ask him about his thoughts. You gotta jump into thoughts. We gotta stick.
Of course.
I know I've been gone on a sabbatical, but at least I can stick with the role. So what was your opinion about the new one? Because it's been mixed reviews, and considering, based on the old one, we kind of get nostalgic with the effects, with how it was and everything. But
of course,
what do you think of the movie, and do you think Kano carried the movie?
So I think, as far as Kano, I think with or without Kano, I really enjoyed the movie. I think Kano added that humor kind of touch. I really liked the Kano character. When it comes to that movie, right? So I went into it with not low expectations, but I knew that I wasn't gonna get a great story.
All right.
So I went into it with the right mindset to enjoy it, right? And the action, the fights, all that, I really, really enjoyed. Now, me and my buddy Julian backstage at APW had a conversation about it, and we were talking about how they kind of rushed a lot of stuff and they threw a lot at you. They put a lot of characters in there with no backstory, and then the whole like Sub-Zero Scorpion thing. Like you see Sub-Zero through like the opening of the movie and you think, okay, this is going to be like the T-1000. He's going to be chasing him throughout the whole thing. And then he was like gone for a big portion of the movie and kind of came back at the end and then got his ass whooped. Like it's when you really drill down the story, you're like, oh man, it really isn't that good of a movie, but damn, was it fun to watch. Like I enjoyed it. And when the sequel comes out, I will see it the day it comes out because I'm going to enjoy that too. And I hope they slow things down in the sequel and really start to dive into like the characters and maybe give us some backstory stuff. And I had told Julian, one of the comments that I made to him, I said that reboot of Mortal Kombat would have much better been suited as like a mini series or a series like The Mandalorian, where like they do that high budget kind of stuff, but you get enough, you know, you can do an episode on almost each character's backstory and kind of this is how we got here and then go from there, you know.
I mean,
but overall I would say thumbs up to the movie for sure.
I mean, technically it's some Mortal Kombat movie without any Mortal Kombat in it.
Right. It's basically building to like the tournament, hopefully, right? Hopefully they made enough money off of it to make a sequel. That's what I'm hoping.
And, you know, more people because they, like, killed half of the combatants.
Yeah, I know, right?
Unless they could sew one of them back together.
Right?
And I just want to slip in one additional video game question.
Yeah.
You're a Resident Evil fan as well.
Love Resident Evil.
And Resident Evil Village just came out, or at least it's been out for quite a while. Have you had a chance to play it? And if so, what are your thoughts? And what is your favorite Resident Evil game?
So with Resident Evil Village, I painted myself into a corner with that game, kind of. So here's what I did. I said, hey, let's do, instead of the streaming thing, let's do like a produced Let's Play kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, you know, I'll get a camera on me. I'll get the video game footage. So I'd play like an hour at a time. And I got like 3 episodes. And then like, I'm like, okay, I want to go play Resident Evil. But like, my kids are still awake and there's like stuff going on. So it got to the point where it's like, okay, if I play, I have to film it. So I have to set up all the film stuff and like get the lighting right. And like, there's a lot of setup that goes into that. I'm very much a perfectionist. So it's like, so I haven't had as much time to spend with it because of the fact that I feel like internally, like I still need to record it, even though I haven't finished editing any of those clips and putting them on YouTube or anything. So it's like, you know, I don't want to like have an episode where it's like, well, this is what happened because I played a chunk of the game while my kids were outside playing, and let me fill you in, you know. So yeah, I really enjoy it though. I think it's good. As far as my favorite Resident Evil game, I always go back to original Resident Evil 2. That's my all-time favorite. So, and it's funny too because like I played so much of that game, and I would always, for the first like probably 4 years I had the game, I would only play just the Leon disc, and I knew it all like, you know, like the back of my hand. I knew where everything was. I knew how to get all the keys. I knew what was coming up next. And then I was like, oh, sorry, there's a dog barking. I apologize. I then at one point like put in the Claire disc, and it was like continue, like it had you continue from the Leon side, and you got a whole different story. And my mind was friggin' blown. And none of my friends knew it, and I knew Resident Evil so well. I was like, come on, guys, like let's all hang out. I'll play through the whole game. You guys can see this boss that was hidden to all of us because we never played it that way. And the internet wasn't really around enough to where we could read up like, you know, a frequently asked questions that's going to tell us like, oh, by the way, if you put the second disc in after you complete the first one, totally different story. So I remember we were sitting there and I was playing through it, and I never saved because I was like, I know exactly where I'm going. And I had the DualShock edition. So I had the machine gun, the Gatling gun, and the rocket launcher. So I was just blowing through everything just to get to the story. We get 5 minutes from the final boss, like the big boss in the subway, and the dog trips over the power cable and unplugs it.
Oh my God.
I was so mad. I was so mad because we didn't save. So it was like, sorry guys.
Wow.
But I love Resident Evil. All the games are great.
Resident Evil follow-up question. Did you play as Tofu?
Oh, as Tofu?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that game mode. Yeah, that was awesome. It was pretty cool. Another one that. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say it's a very odd thing that seems very enjoyable.
Yeah, I know, right? An unsung Resident Evil game that's one of my favorites that a lot of people don't really bring up when it comes to this conversation of like, what's the best Resident Evil game?
Code Veronica.
Nope, not Code Veronica. I enjoyed Code Veronica, I will say. But Resident Evil Revelations, the first one, was terrific. It was awesome. And a lot of people kind of look over that one.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if you haven't played it, give it a shot. It's pretty great.
Now, let's steer this back to wrestling a little bit.
Yeah, I know. We got off the beaten path, right?
Could you tell us about the Syndicate, BT, Tatum, Murdock, and how'd you form the group and what's your relationship with them?
So me and B.A. Tatum, we go way back. So I was telling you about like training at Steve's school, and I was kind of, I got promoted, and I would kind of come back when I could. I came back one night, and I'd been gone for a few months, and I came back to train one night, and B.A. Tatum was there. And he told me this like maybe a year later that he thought I was just some like new student. And then I went in and I started like doing stuff, and he was like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. And then he was like, I got to get in there and wrestle with him. So like we, wrestled around, and we became really good friends. And we have like, there's so much stuff that me and that kid have done. It's awesome. Like just being great friends. And Murdock, when I moved to Maine, he worked at the same store that I did, that I transferred to. And they were like, oh, this is Murdock. He's a wrestling fan. And I was like, oh, cool. Someone I can attach to. So we became really good friends just through that. And the Syndicate, I mean, I think that's why a lot of that stuff works, is because we hang out together. I mean, we're on a group chat together. We're talking pretty much every day, hanging out when we can. And when we go to shows, we ride together. So we have the whole, drive to be like, oh, we could do this, or we could do this, and we can do that. And like, let's cut a promo about this, and let's do this. So it's awesome. And that dynamic that we have is just because we're good friends. And, the stuff on the road, like all that stuff kind of came from like, we had this kind of, we're going to be badasses. And like, I'd always tell Murdock, like, don't talk, don't say anything. You're the big badass bodyguard. But then he'd like say things out there, and they were so awesome and so over that we're like, okay, yeah, we got to kind of switch this up. And like, let's just forget about trying to be badasses, and let's just have fun. And that's when we really started kicking off, is when we said, let's just have fun and just, enjoy what we're doing together as friends. And Spencer, Blade Bandit, sorry, I gave his real name out. he's yeah, right. All those promos he's popped into, and it's kind of told the whole story of like, he really wants to be in the group. And like, we did the whole, did you guys see the Stan video where he did the song, where he wrote the letter?
Don't think I have.
I have. It's very like stalkerish, yo.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah. So like we were going, and I remember Blade sent me a text one night, and he goes, yeah, so where do we go from here? And I was like, dude, I got it. I was like, you're gonna do a promo, like you're just gonna write a letter to us, and we're gonna make a parody of Stan by Eminem, and it's gonna be awesome. And he's like, okay, let's do this. So like, it's actually me rapping the song to be like, real. But it was awesome. We loved it, and we were so pumped about it, and we didn't tell anybody other than Randy about it. So like, when Murdock and B.A. Tatum saw it, they were like, what? They just send crying emojis all day. It was great.
That's awesome. Kaliko, you have a question.
See, they didn't know you was dropping them bars, son.
I know, right?
Hot 16s. Oh my God. See, everybody was on that Resident Evil. I just want to add this one last thing, because James is way too young for this. When back in the day, when you actually had to go to the store and buy the damn strategy guide, that was the fucking frustrating.
Oh, unfortunately, I've had to buy a couple of strategy guides in my day.
What? Man, I thought you just had the internet your whole life. I'm just
man, yeah, the strategy guides. I remember way back buying the strategy guide for Donkey Kong Country so I could find all the big bananas and get all the secrets in the game and 100% it. I spent so much time playing that game.
I love that game, and I sank so much time into that game that I didn't need the strategy guide. I just found those things just by trial and error. But no, my strategy guide was the biggest one was probably Kingdom Hearts, the original.
You know, so it's interesting because my younger brother makes comments now because I used to not understand like the Final Fantasy games and like the games where you had like the turn-based kind of stuff. So I was really turned off by Kingdom Hearts at first because I was like, this is like one of those games. I don't like it. And same thing with even Final Fantasy VII. Like I was turned off by that at first. And then I don't know, like 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, I just for some reason like started playing RPGs and I was like, wow, these are actually really fun once you understand like there's like a game of chess going on here. It's not just like, oh, I gotta hit the button and then wait for my guy to hit. Like, why can't I just hit him 100 times? So it's it's pretty cool now. Like,
yeah, you have to pick the specific character to just keep punching them.
Right, yeah, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it in my younger years, but now I do. I enjoy those games a lot. I like a lot of different games.
Yeah. So, Kaliko, was that your question?
That was one of them. We'll get to the music. We'll get there. Okay, well, leading the build up.
All right, we'll get to Scooter next.
Okay. Now, you've gone on and said one of your favorite matches of all time, maybe your favorite match of all time, is Bret Hart versus Owen Hart from WrestleMania 10.
Mm-hmm.
And 1, I was there because Madison Square Garden. 2, and we have a Hall of Fame here at Wrestling with Entertainment, but we don't have it for talent. We have it for matches. And that, along with The Rock, Steve Austin from WrestleMania 17, were the first 2 inductees. And with SummerSlam coming up, and Bret and Owen having had a notable match at SummerSlam, we're looking to induct some SummerSlam matches. If you could put one SummerSlam match in a time capsule, what would it be?
Oh, that's tough because 3 of them immediately come to mind, all involving Bret Hart, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Bret and Owen in the cage, Bret and Bulldog at Wembley Stadium,
and
Bret and Mr. Perfect. Yeah, so all 3 of those are like, I would have to say I gotta say Bret and Mr. Perfect, mainly because that back in the day when that happened, right? So I was, not to age myself, I was 8. I had just turned 8, right? So we didn't have pay-per-view at my house. Like we didn't have the ability to get it. So I had relatives that lived, north of us that had pay-per-view. So they, would record them and send them back to us. And I remember I just loved that Bret Hart match so much that I asked them if I could keep the tape because normally I would watch it and then send it back. And they let me keep the tape. So I watched it over and over and over. And that was one of the matches that really made me a Bret Hart fan. So I would have to definitely say that one should go in the Hall of Fame.
All right.
Interesting. Now, talking about your moveset, I noticed in your matches, you do a clothesline in the corner. Like somebody that some people won't really describe as a quote-unquote pro wrestler. The Miz.
Yes.
So I'm curious as to how you came about doing that clothesline that way.
So it's actually kind of funny. It was before a show, and I was like trying to do different things, because I try to get to shows early, mess around in the ring a little bit. And I remember I whipped somebody into the corner and I was like, I'm going to do the Miz thing. And I ran and I gave him the clothesline. And I was like, wait a minute, stay right there. So then I'm like, I'm going to put a little bit more on it. So I would almost like, I don't do it as much like this anymore, but when I first started doing it, I would like bring my legs like way out. So when I hit them, my legs kind of like swung in. But what would happen is I'd bang my ankle bone right on the ring post.
Ouch.
So I was like, I shouldn't do that. And I remember one time I did it at a show. It was IWE. It was outside at Thatcher's. There was a cameraman right there where my feet were going to go. So I looked right at him and I said, move. Apparently he thought that I was telling my opponent plain as day to move out of the way. He didn't move at all. So I go through, I do the line, and I bring my feet out. I realize he's not moving. I'm trying to tuck my feet in, but I knocked the camera straight out of his hands.
Ooh.
Luckily, he had one of those neck straps on, and the camera like swung around, and he grabs it, and I'm like, oh, man. And I broke character a little bit because I'm like, are you okay? Because I want to make sure I didn't like bust up his face by knocking his camera into it.
Right.
And then, after the match and everything, out back, I was like, is your camera okay? And luckily it was, because I would have felt real bad. And I would have had to like replace, whatever broke because that's how I am. But yeah, I did the move and I was like, that feels kind of good. And I don't really see a lot of people do it. And plus, like as a heel, a lot of people don't like the Miz. So if I do something and it's Miz-like, bring on the heat, baby. Like I'm good with it. But I try to add a little bit, a little bit more intensity to it. And then we started
Owen Brody flavor.
Exactly. Add a little flavor, a little spice. And we made it as part of the Pain Train. I don't know if you saw that clip of us blasting through. I think it was Malik Logan at a Let's Wrestle show, and it starts with that line, and then Murdock hits the splash, and B.A. Tatum hits him, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, Kaliko, we're back to you.
Where should I go? The story of you beating a third grader in Kip Up. I need to know this. Because that is some heelish. Because the only reason I bring that up, because it was a funny story that I had, and I'll just let you go. I beat a 9-year-old to win an encyclopedia in a wrestling trivia game, and I had no shame in it. So
That's awesome.
I feel that. So I just need to know the story
All
of
right,
how that came about.
So it was at my daughter's school, they have this thing called Mountain Day, right? So every year they take like, the first through third grade, like they go climb this mountain, and like, they break up the classes of kids and they all go climb mountains. But because of COVID and things like that, like they didn't do it at all last year. And then this year they were like, well, we're just going to go to like the little park across the street from the school. And they said parents can come. So I was like, oh, sweet. Like I haven't gone on a field trip with my kid for like almost 2 years, it seems. So, we go and we're there, we're eating lunch, and this little dude in her class is like kipping up, and he's poking one of the other dads, and he goes, can you do that? Can you do that? And he goes, no, I can't do that. And he goes, yeah, because you're old. And I'm like, oh man, I got to go over and show this kid. So then I'm like, all right, well, let me see. Oh, man, let me see. Maybe I can do it. And he goes, oh, I bet you can't. I was like, I don't know. I might be able to. And so I get down and boom, pop right up. And he's like, whoa. And all the other kids like pop. And then he's like, do it again. So then like I did it, and then he did it, and then I did a kip up, and then did a, kind of roll through, kip up off my head. And he was like, whoa, I can't do that. And I was like, well, I guess I win then. And so they thought it was pretty cool. And then I was like, I'm just going to post it on Twitter because it's just funny to me. Most of my tweets are just to pop myself.
So it wasn't like me beating on the little kid. The little kid had it coming. Okay, I get it.
Oh, yeah, the kid was like, I'm the only one here that can do this because these other third graders can do it, and all these guys are old. And I know. Let me do it. I set it up perfect, too, because I took my time getting down on the ground. Like, oh, man, I'm kind of, ooh. And boom, popped right up. And he was just like, whoa. So, yeah, it was pretty funny.
Oh, so you gave him to Uncle Drew. You act like you acting like you was a senior citizen getting free cheddar biscuits. And then next thing you know, bam. All right, I got it. Okay.
Always got to swerve him.
Now I think we waited long enough. Tell us about Damn, That's Wrestling.
So Damn, That's Wrestling. It's something that had been in the works unknowingly for many, many, many years. Damn, That's Wrestling had been something that was in the works for a long time without really knowing it, right? So, like I mentioned, we have a group chat with me, Blade Bandit, Murdock, and B.A. Tatum. And we'll always like throw out random ideas like, oh, what if we did this at a wrestling show? And it's all like completely stuff we would never really do. But then we were like sitting here, it was like maybe a month or two into quarantine, and we're like, dude, like, let's just set up the ring and wrestle. And I had thought about Create a Pro does like this thing where you pick out of a hat, and in the hat has a bunch of like wrestler names, like Kurt Angle and The Rock and like that kind of stuff.
Oh my god,
and
the
you
box
have to,
of gimmicks.
Yeah, and you have to wrestle the match like that wrestler. So I was like, we could do something like that, and that would be kind of fun. So then we were like, all right, well, let's plan a day. And then I was like, what if we took all these crazy characters like we've thought about and all these stupid things we thought about, and like, let's do that. And they're like, okay, go on. And I was like, all right, everyone come up with 4 characters, because we're going to do a whole season. We're going to record a bunch of matches. We're going to all play different characters and never sell the fact that this guy is also this guy. Like, they're totally different people, and it's just going to be awesome. And they're like, okay, cool. I'm like, we'll do a bunch of like editing tricks so that we'll have like, 2 of us out at the same time, or like out one after the other. Like, it'll be great. And so like, I just got to type in, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to come up with all this stuff. And I came up with a few of the characters, like obviously all of my own I came up with. And then Murdock came up with a bunch of his characters, and same thing with B.A. Tatum. And then I said, okay, so we're going to take all these characters. I wrote like little bios for all the characters. And then I was like, okay, here's the match list. Like, and basically booked like 4 episodes of a show. And I'm, like I said, perfectionist, right? So I had everything like, it's got to be this way. And like, then we were going to do it originally in my backyard. So I have a pretty good sized backyard, and we were just going to like make it real cheesy with just like a curtain just somewhere would be the entrance. And we were going to do the No Mercy camera angle where you can see the curtain the whole time. And then it was pouring like the day before, and I was like scrambling to find a place. And my buddy Sully, who actually like trains with me now, and he was like, yo, he's like, the gym I work at, like they have like a workout room, the ring will fit in there. And I was like, okay, like let's do it. So then we went in, we checked it out, and was like, all right, we got to get a bunch of black tarps to cover up all these mirrors and all this stuff. And we got the ring in there, and man, it was a long day because we recorded 16 matches that day. And
you did the whole season in one day?
Yep. We did all the matches in one. Yeah, we did all the matches in one day. And I had it like, because I had like the match list, but then I had it organized in like how we were going to shoot. So I was like, okay, like we want all, the Highway Coalition matches are going to be shot, and then we're going to shoot like the opening part of the No Mercy Rumble, because they were like the first entrance in there, just to keep people in the same costumes the whole time. But the best part was like, none of us ever played any of those characters until that day. Like, we all kind of had the idea, but we'd never actually gone and done it. And we did it all like, there was no cuts. It was all in one take. So it wasn't like, oh, okay, let's restart and do that. Like, I think there was, I take that back. There was one spot where it's like, we kind of like made this awkward collision, and we're like, oh, hold on, we'll do that again. But it wasn't anything like character wise. So it was really like, it ended up being a grueling day, but in the long run, totally worth it. It was super fun. And we had everybody cut like a promo in front of the green screen about the No Mercy Rumble, and then like the camera wasn't even lined up really good with it, so you could see like the green screen getting all wonky, and like, but all of that, this is the other thing that people go, oh, really? All of that was filmed on an iPhone and an iPad.
Oh my God.
And everything that you see in that whole season was made on an iPhone or an iPad. Even the editing, all the graphics, everything was done on an iPhone or iPad.
That is incredible. Because I really just the way that it shot, I really dig. Like that old crappy VHS quality picture. Well, I just think is awesome. And
Yeah, and that's
continue, please.
that's the vibe we were going for. We're like, we're gonna make it look like old 1980s wrestling. Like the graphics are gonna be like really bad fonts, like that aren't gonna be, super polished. Because then I was like, then we can come back and do season 2, and it'll be like 90s style graphics, like a little bit better. And the VHS style thing is actually this company, I forget the name of it now, but they do this VHS camera on the phone, and you can like spoof the date and stuff, right? So I always rib B.A. Tatum. There's a ton of like B.A. Tatum ribs. So one of them was going to be, and I couldn't find a kid to do it. I was going to set the timer to be like Christmas of like 1989. So it would say, December 25th, 1989. And I was going to have this kid, like one of my cousin's kids, like, would pass as like 5-year-old me, right? So I thought it would be funny to use that app to record the kid unwrapping a present, and he'd be like, who are these guys? And then turn the present around, and it's a picture of me and B.A. Tatum. Like, I was like, wouldn't that be hilarious? Because he would just be like, what the, like totally mind blown, didn't know it existed. But I ended up not doing it. I ended up showing him the app like mistakenly. I was like, oh wait, I was gonna do that. Whoops. But so I was like, yeah, we'll do that. And I ran into a couple problems with like the longer episodes. So I was like in contact with the developers of that app, and they were like, oh, we can send you like the beta for like this version of it or like whatever if it's not working. And I was like a huge help to getting them like troubleshooting part of the app because it was just not like acting the way that it should have. So that was probably like the most stressful part about editing all that, is getting that to work. But yeah, I edited it all, and I did all the commentary, which the commentary was actually supposed to be me and Murdock, because Murdock does a really good Vince McMahon on commentary impression. So he was going to do like the Vince McMahon style, like 1, 2, oh, he got him, and just all the fun stuff. But that ended up not happening, so I had to do a solo.
Oh man, now I'm just thinking what that could have been.
Oh, it would have been awesome. And the funny thing too is like the commentary, like I had like little notes, but I didn't like make really good notes. Like I remember doing the first episode. I did the first episode all in one take, the whole thing. And I remember the Highway Coalition, like the first match, hit their move, and I was like, oh, it's their finishing move, the Rumble strip. And I was like, I came up with it like just like right off the top of my head, and it cracked me up. And they laughed because they had no idea what I was going to say. They saw it live like everybody else on YouTube. And yeah, oh man, that was so much fun. That project was so fun.
And what could you tell us about WCWF Channel 5 and Hotel Room 615?
So I just thought it would be funny just to say like WCWF Channel 5, and have like the old public access kind of TV menus like before the show.
Yes.
So it kind of gave like that old time feel. And so I just had to come up with like a channel, like a station name. And I was like, well, like WCW and WWF are like the things. So might as well just, rib on those. Hotel Room 615. You'll see that pop up a lot, like in our promos and like stuff like that. And there's like little Easter eggs throughout our promos that reference like 615 and like a ton of inside jokes that we all pop at. So if you ever watch one of our like Syndicate promos with one of us, we'll laugh like at a bunch of things that aren't as funny to anybody else. But Hotel 615, it was SummerSlam. Let's see. It must have been 18, I think. B.A. Tatum, Murdock, and Blade Bandit all came over to my house, and we watched the pay-per-view together. And for some reason, B.A. Tatum was doing a Taz impression. I can't do it at all, but he was like talking about going to Hotel Room 615, and just like for some reason, like that number just kept coming up. And it's actually interesting if you Google Hotel Room 615. Have you ever done that?
I have not.
So if you Google hotel room 615, it brings up the, I guess it was like a famous hotel room where they, was it the Chicago White Sox and the Boston Red Sox? The management like colluded to like have someone throw the game in hotel room 615. So we read that and we're like, that's wicked funny.
Boston, the Buckminster Hotel.
Yeah, there you go. But I was like, wow, it's actually like a thing. And every time we get a hotel somewhere, we're like, we're like looking at the building, like, is there 6 floors? And we're like, we've all agreed that if we get a hotel room and it has 6 floors, we're gonna request hotel room 615 just so we can stay there once.
That is awesome. Scooter, you have any questions?
Let's see. Well, you already answered my gag question. What's the shortest commute you ever had to a card?
Yeah, I could walk to that one. The next closest one was probably 45 minutes, maybe. So that was pretty cool.
You appear to have a love for ring psychology. How important is ring psychology when you perform in the ring?
It's very important, and that's why I don't try to do, A, B, C, D, when I call a match. Like, it's not. I try to keep it open because, like I said before, if the crowd's digging what you're doing, you gotta keep digging at it. And I always try to like think of a story. So like, I don't know. I don't even know if it's out there. Like the match that I had with Stiff Mike at APW at the last show where I won the title. The whole match was centered because the first match that we had, he just chopped the shit out of me, which is that's what he does. So like, why would me as a heel allow him to chop me? I'm gonna watch out for that now because chopping hurts and it sucks. But me as a cocky heel, I'm gonna chop him and then run away because that's awesome to me. So like, that's what we did. We go to tie up and I kind of duck underneath his tie up and I chop him. And I purposely threw like shitty chops so that people would know that like, he chops way harder than you do, pal. Don't do it. And it was just the whole match. We built the whole thing all around him chopping me. And then finally we got to the comeback and like, he's firing off, goes to hit me with a chop. I duck underneath it, goes to hit me with another one. I duck underneath it. I go to kick him. He grabs my foot, spins me around, goes to chop me. I duck underneath it. I hit the ropes. He shoots me up in the air. I land and boom, he just slaps me in the chest and the crowd just went bananas. And then it was free reign. He just went and chopped me a few more times. The crowd was like doing the whole one more time deal. And it was awesome. So like, I feel like the little things like that, you think about it, it's a chop. Like that's a small piece of a match. It's a small piece of a move set. It's a small maneuver. It's so small, but if you make it important, and you really build it properly, the crowd will eat it up. So, you can have those matches. And I remember, I forget who I was sitting with. It was at a Limitless show. Oh, no, actually, I take that back. It wasn't at a Limitless show. It was before Limitless. It was the same weekend as a Limitless show. We were somewhere else. So I think it was IWE. Either way, like the way the crowd was reacting, the guy, says to me, oh, they're popping for this match. And I said, they are, but they're popping for the moves. They're doing cool stuff, which is awesome. And I totally think that like that there's a place for that. I'm not saying that like that's wrong, but I think you can get so many more miles out of it. Like you think about like, oh, I saw that, it was wicked cool. But like, hey, he chopped the shit out of that dude because he kept chopping him and chopping him and chopping him and being a little prick. And then I wanted him to get chopped so bad, like that's the emotion that I try to bring out is like, I want people to hate me and I want them to, I want them to see, I want them to want me to get my ass kicked. You know what I mean? Like you build that up and you give it to them and then they're like, oh yeah, it was so awesome. So I want them to understand the story and not just, oh, he did a cool move.
I love that matchup. Now,
thank you.
Kaliko, you have a colossal question.
Ooh, colossal.
I think we may have lost Kaliko. if he was ever really here to begin with. All right, we lost. Oh, is he back?
I am never dead. You think I'm dead? I'm never dead. I just prolong it. I just make it. See the psychology, because when I like take her, it's a pop, you know.
Right?
Oh, okay. You're building the suspense.
Zombie.
All right, let's get to the main part, which is to me the music. I did not. Now I see where you get the music from, as far as your mother is a big music influencer, but you also had like this thing where you're listening to music that you never really got into or never really heard of. So what were the songs that popped to you that you tried and it was like, huh, you know, that really I really like that. I want to try and see how you know, hear more of that. What was the artist that got you really, really into them?
So like, are you talking like I tried like listening to a new style of music and was like, oh man, this is awesome.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man. Okay, so I would have to say that that would have to be like Less Than Jake, actually, I think is probably the first one where I was like, wow, this is like fun to listen to. Like, because someone explains like ska punk music and they're like, yeah, it's like, you know, punky upbeat stuff with like trumpets. And it's like, okay, like, cool, man. Like, I'm not going to listen to that. But then like it hits and you're listening to it and you're like, this is just fun, like driving in the summer music. Like, it's a good time. So there's, you know, those that, you know, that's probably the first one that comes to mind.
All right. So since your mom ran a karaoke business, the greatest karaoke song of all time is...
Oh, man. Are we talking the greatest karaoke song I can perform or the greatest karaoke song of all time?
Both.
Both.
Yes.
All right. So we'll start with the greatest karaoke song of all time. I don't know. It's so tough to say. I guess I can't pick like a specific song, but I would say that the best type of karaoke song is one that like everybody knows and everybody will sing along without like having to see the words. Like, that's when it's cool. My personal like favorite karaoke song, and it's I call myself the one trick pony because I really only do like one song of karaoke, and that's Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio.
Ooh, sweet.
Yeah, me and B.A. Tatum, we did that a bunch of times, like at a bunch of different karaoke places. It's a pretty big hit.
Which have you ever performed Weird Al's verse in Amish Paradise?
So, funny story, we did karaoke one night, and we did Gangsta's Paradise, and then right after, this other kid did Amish Paradise, and it was wicked funny to me. I laughed so hard.
Was not expecting that. All right.
Oh, what were you expecting?
No. You don't know what you expect.
I mean, I would think it would have been something like lovey-dovey, I would think like The Girl Is Mine would be something like, I don't know. The doggone girl is mine. I could just see like, or something Michael Jackson-y or Prince-ish or Cyndi Lauper.
Right? Well, you know, there's always someone at karaoke that does Girls Just Want to Have Fun. There's always somebody that does it. One of the things...
I thought it was coming back.
Yeah. One of the things that I do like to do as a rib, because I rib everybody, is whoever the guys are in the group that we're out doing karaoke with, I sign all of them up to sing I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. And they have no idea until the DJ's like, yeah, can I get, and they list all the dudes, and then they all go up, and then they're like, what are we doing? And I always make sure they have a few drinks in them so that they will actually do it horribly.
Oh, man. See, I'm glad you did that, because if you had did Tearing Up My Heart by NSYNC, you might have saw me pop in and try to take the lead, you know?
Oh, man.
That Timberlake.
Right? It's funny too because I know a lot of the lyrics of all these boy band songs, but it's all because of pop punk covers. Like, have you ever heard Punk Goes Pop? Like, it's a compilation album.
Yes.
Dude, so good. Like, all of those are so good. Like, that's another one that I'll put on just like randomly, and then someone will be like, "Wait a minute, is this that Alanis Morissette song?" It's like, yes, it is, but it's not her singing it. It's somebody else.
See, I had to do that like with my hip hop as a kid because my mom wouldn't let me. It's crazy because my mom wouldn't let me listen to rap, but she let me listen to all this vulgar R&B music. So like once I found out what the meaning of them was, I was like, you know damn well I shouldn't have. Because it's funny, I couldn't listen to like Master P or Outkast until I got a little older, but she was okay with "You're Making Me High" by Toni Braxton when the song is literally about masturbation, and I'm looking at her like, you did what?
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Since we're still on the topic of music, Kaliko, the colossal question.
I mean, I feel like I gotta usually. All right. You've been at this since 2004.
Yep.
In the wrestling biz, you had your highs, your lows, your ins and outs. And we went over that all throughout this interview segment. If they're doing, and let's say now the music movie people coming up, they're saying, hey, we're going to do a movie about your life starring Ryan Gosling, whoever, right?
I'll take it.
But with every movie, there's a soundtrack. So what would be the first 5 songs that come to your mind when you think about your wrestling career that best encapsulates your wrestling career?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. 5 songs that best encapsulate my wrestling career? I mean, there'd have to be some sort of Gangsta's Paradise like song somewhere. Like, we use a cover of Gangsta's Paradise.
Any cover, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it'd have to be there. There's got to be some good road songs, you know, some songs that just play while driving down the road. Like, man, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. 5 songs that would be on the soundtrack of my wrestling movie. That's really tough. I don't think I have an answer for that one, guys. I'm sorry. I know, you stumped me.
I just came back and I'm about to go on another sabbatical.
Oh no, all because of Owen Brody. What a heel that Owen Brody is, I tell you.
Oh man.
Well, it's fair. I mean, it is the question that broke Colossal Mike Law. So,
you know what? I will allow an extension. Since I had to take a sabbatical, I will allow an extension for Mr. Owen Brody.
Oh, I appreciate that. I will think very hard about it.
Okay.
You're going to go to his wife. Wait a minute. What 5 songs will you?
Yeah, right?
Scooter,
She's going to pick the Spice Girls on you.
My wife would definitely, she'd be like, well, it's got to be Gangsta's Paradise. Like, Gangsta's Paradise has to play somewhere in there. I'm like, yeah, true.
See, you got 1. All you got is 4 more. That's it.
4 more.
4 more.
I'll think of them.
Oh, you know what? For suspense, we'll tweet it out right when this airs.
There you go.
This airs, tweet out the other 4 songs.
There you go. That gives me a little bit of time. You got it.
Scooter, you have a question?
I am literally out of questions.
Okay.
I have literally gone through everything.
So, since there's no really, this is the most controversial question you'll be asked.
Ooh, controversy.
Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I am a giant fan of pineapple on pizza. I like pineapple on a lot of things. Like, I just like pineapple in general. But yeah, pineapple on pizza, I'll take it. Another thing that's on pizza that I've only seen like in South Carolina for some reason is green apple on pizza.
Oh.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, you cut up some like Granny Smith apples and put it on pizza. Hell yeah.
Funny enough, not the strangest fruit I've ever seen on a pizza. I've actually seen watermelon.
That's interesting.
And
that is interesting because the piece will be all soggy and shit.
yeah,
Right.
I've also seen watermelon used in place of tomato. You grill the watermelon, a nice slice of fresh mozzarella on top, little basil. That's that sweetness and the saltiness.
Oh man. You know, speaking of weird foods, right? So we used to wrestle at this place called Gino's in Portland, Maine. The most ridiculous crowd, by the way, because no one knows that there's wrestling there. It's like the worst promoted show, but everyone goes, and it's because they just go to the bar and they're like, oh yeah, cover, sure, whatever, and then they walk in, they see the ring, and they're like, oh whoa, because it's never like the same people, but they're wild and they're rabid. So it's always a fun time. So we absolutely love that. But after the show, we'd go down the street to this wing place called Binga's, and they have peanut butter and jelly wings. And those are tremendous. So if you ever can try some peanut butter and jelly wings, do it.
All right. Definitely something on the bucket list now.
Yeah.
Next,
I'm gonna have to go jack that recipe ski mask style.
There you go.
Like, this is only gonna take a second. I don't want the money. Just give me the recipe for this peanut butter jelly wing.
That sounds like a Syndicate skit.
now,
we do throw ideas out there for you.
There you go.
We have workshop portions of the interview. What's your spirit Pokemon?
My spirit Pokemon?
Yes.
Oh man, it's funny because my daughter has started getting into Pokemon, so she asked me who my favorite was, and I always go with Charmander. I'm a big Charmander
Classic.
fan. Yeah, one of the original 150.
Yeah.
Charmander.
Now we gotta ask, you didn't run an underground Pokemon trading card ring, did you?
No, sadly.
Okay, good.
Some of those cards are probably worth a lot of money right now.
I love that you said sadly. You would definitely do it if you had the opportunity.
Yeah, I totally should have done that.
And
I know, if we knew then what we knew now.
And the weirdest question you'll ever be asked on a wrestling podcast. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson. Scooter?
Not the country.
An actual rock.
An actual rock. I have wrestled inanimate objects before, but a rock, it would have to be a pretty big rock, and I don't know how it would get in the ring, and
we're talking like a lawn decorating rock.
Like a lawn decorating rock.
Not really that big, but still heavy, almost like a paperweight, where you'd hide a key.
Gotcha. I mean, there'd have to be some real heat there. I would have to go for my hidden key, and it would just not give it to me, and then that would be the issue. That'd be the issue that we have.
And you've already had a better story than Psycho Mike.
Like
I said, I'm all about the psychology. There's got to be a story.
For context, there's this guy up in Canada called Psycho Mike that wrestled a rock for over 15 minutes in what was billed as a 2-week Iron Man match.
Tungsten Man match. Said it already, it was tungsten.
For Backyard Pro.
That's wicked funny. I'll have to look that up. That's incredible.
And it featured a lot of Limitless guys.
Oh, really?
Featured a couple of them at one point. Yeah, Holden. Yeah.
No, Holden's not. Wasn't in. Was Holden Limitless?
Yeah, Holden wrestled for Limitless. So did Clay.
Oh, okay. Well,
they wrestled once or twice for them.
Okay. I could send you the link.
Yeah, definitely send it my way.
And speaking of links, just for the I put in in the Jizzy chat a recipe for peanut butter and jelly chicken wings.
Oh my man, that's what's up.
And now it is time for that segment once again. Owen Brody's Bizarre Adventure. You're a wrestler that goes up and down the road, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
I probably could, but I could get a lot of people in trouble. Let's see.
You can feel free to change names to protect the innocent.
True. I could.
Yes, let's protect the innocent. There we go.
All right,
we ain't no snitches, but let's protect the innocent.
Right. Let's see. Oh man, I have a lot of really good road stories, but one of them that was like the most like crazy, like holy shit, what did I get myself into? Where this was in Massachusetts, and B.A. Tatum was there, and we were wrestling, and we wrestled with a couple other people who will go unnamed, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna stop by my friend's house." Now, needless to say, I had a rib coming because I got him very, very good, like the month before. I had B.A. Tatum hide in the trunk of my car, and we loosened up like the seat so that he could push through the seat. And as soon as the man who shall not be named sat down, I was like, "Oh yeah, cut a promo on B.A." And so we filmed him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like cutting this promo." And then B.A. came out from the back seat, and this other gentleman screamed like a girl, for lack of a better term. So we got him real good, and then every time he was talking to a girl at the bar, B.A. would bring headphones and his phone over, and he goes, "You should see this video of him," and puts them on the girl and like watches the video of him screaming. It was awesome.
Oh, God.
So I had it coming, and he brings us to. He goes, "We just gotta stop here real quick." And he goes, "Look, here's the deal. Like, just go in, be respectful. You know, these are people that I know. Just say hi and like whatever." And so I'm like, "Okay, no big deal." So we walk in, and I'm like, "There's a whole lot of people not wearing clothes here. What did we get into?" And I look over at BA, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, "I don't either." And then this other gentleman goes, "This is your first swinger party, kids." And we're just like, "What are we doing here?" And BA is really, really drunk. So BA and I go like in this other room, and we're just sitting down, and they had like snacks and stuff out, which like now that I think of it, it's kind of gross to have snacks and stuff out at a party like that.
Pretty much, yes.
Right. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and this girl comes over to me, and she's like, "Hey, so this guy," and points to, our friend, and she goes, he says you're a lot of fun, so you should come with me. And I was like, "I'm all good right here, and with these gross pretzels and chips, and I'm good." And then BA gets down, like for some reason, gets down on one knee and says to this girl, drunk as hell, he goes, "Look, I ain't gonna propose to you or nothing, but I just want you to know I ain't no holla back girl." So for the longest time, B.A. Tatum's ringtone on my phone, back when we used to call each other, was holla back girl.
Now that is a story.
It's a pretty good one. Yeah, that was the most, because I was like, I don't know what's going on. I just remember sitting there and like just being like, this is so awkward. And then I was like, let's get out of here. But we were there for a while because we just sat in the same room, but our buddy had to go and do all the stuff he was doing.
Which we will not assume what he was doing, or
right.
Oh, we got a clue of what he was doing.
Yeah, I think they were playing Uno. I think they might have been playing Uno.
I know, man. Especially the ones with the draw 25s, when they get the custom shit, and I'm like, come on, man.
Terrible. Oh, there's a funny road story on the way home from a Binga's night from Gino's. We were driving home, and again, when it comes to wrestling psychology also plays a big part in ribs as well. So you got to build and you got to set it up. So we're driving, and we stop at a gas station, and there's a Dunkin' Donuts there, so we always stop there like on the way up, and we usually stop there on the way back. So we stop there, and my buddy goes, "Hey, should you get gas or anything?" And I'm like, well, you open up the door, kid. I go, no, I think I'm good. I think I can make it all the way to Portland and then make it all the way back here. And by the time I get back here, I'll need gas. So he's like, oh, okay, cool. And there's 4 of us in the car. So we're driving back, and my gas light comes on because I knew how many miles my car actually had and what the mileage was between there and there. So we're driving, and I go, guys, we're running out of gas, and we're right at the exit that is at that gas station. So my 2 buddies in the back seat spring into action. They're like, yeah, we can just push the rest of the way. So they get out, and they wave the car that's behind us by. And my other buddy sitting in the passenger seat, not understanding what's going on either, but he was like, I'm not getting out and pushing. They got this. So my buddy Sully, who was with me, goes, all right, you ready? I go, yep, give it a good push. So they go to push, and I just hammer the gas and just drive off. Not knowing, I felt bad though, because Sully was like backwards, like pushing against the car backwards, so he could get a little bit more leverage. So he like falls over, like ass over tea kettle, man. I was just like laughing, and then I pulled over on the side of the road and picked him up, and we actually went and did get gas because I did need it, but it was pretty hilarious.
That's such a heel move.
Oh yeah, but you gotta set it up. They knew like, oh man, yeah, he's gonna be cutting it close for gas, and then the gas light came on, so it was like perfect. And I just coasted. I put it in neutral and just coasted down the hill. It was pretty awesome.
Those were fantastic, bizarre adventures, if I do say so myself.
Exactly.
That is an asshole-ish move, and I wish I had thought of it earlier.
well, you have until the time this airs to go do it to somebody.
And
oh, I got some names.
And in all seriousness, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, it's interesting. So you guys are gonna get an exclusive right here.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I've always been into obviously video editing and doing like that kind of production stuff, and I always thought like, wouldn't it be cool to like make a documentary? And I always like put it off. And then I tried it one time, but I was like, the only camera I really had was my phone, so I was like, I don't want to spend a bunch of money on like a really nice camera. And then I just stumbled upon like a really good deal on a GoPro, and so I was like, okay, what if I just set this up in the car, like when I'm driving, and I just kind of talk and like, figure out what I'm going to do. Because, like, part of me says, like, I don't want to wrestle past 40. But then the other part of me says, like, you're foolish because you love this and you're going to do it till you can't anymore. But, like, I have kids. Like, in real life is, like, you think about, like, okay, I'm not making millions of dollars. It's not supporting my family. It's just a fun thing I like to do. I like to entertain, and I get to meet cool people like you guys and do this kind of stuff. So, but it has real life repercussions. Like your body gets beat up. And like, if I started wrestling like 10 years later, maybe I'd be somewhere. Like if I was 10 years younger, I should say, at this time, maybe I'd be somewhere, but right now it's like, I'm just having fun. So if in 5 years I'm still having fun, I'm still going to be doing it. If not, then I won't, and we'll see. And like, I'm kind of documenting that now. Like, I talk to the camera, like as I'm driving down the road, and like, I talk when I'm leaving. Cause sometimes, you have a bad match and you're like, you just got to vent about it. And, I'm venting to really no one, cause I haven't done anything with the footage yet, but I'm talking about like what I would have done differently, or, oh man, I gotta, maybe I gotta work on my cardio, or like, whatever. So, if I'm still having fun, like I said, if I'm still having fun in 5 years, I'll still be doing it, having fun. I mean, I've played it pretty safe as far as big bumps and stuff go. Like I take it pretty easy. When I first started, I would just do whatever. And now I'm pretty mild. I don't do, anything nuts. But if I start to feel it, like where I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm feeling these bumps, then I'm probably going to stop. But if I'm having fun, I'm going to keep going.
That's awesome. And
thank you.
Could we expect another season of Damn That's Wrestling this year?
So that's in the works. It's in the works. I've written some story arcs
Awesome.
for like the Violent Slime. We have his story arc. and we're doing some wild things
Is
because
it going to be
obviously.
explained how he did teleportation in the middle of a match?
That's where like I was like, we gotta go crazy with this. Like, let's just do it. Like, it's gonna be cheesy special effects, but like that's kind of the point,
Yes.
you know. And it was a blast. And what's funny too is like my friend Blade Bandit, he didn't know he'd played like Body Slam Stan and all those guys. He didn't know like how much like went into editing video, but he also didn't know like how much you could do with like one person. So Murdock was actually running late. So I was like, all right, come outside with me. Like, it was raining. And I was like, but we can shoot all the Body Slam Stand parts. And then when Murdock's here, we're only gonna have to shoot like 2 parts with you in it. And he's like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah. He didn't understand that like you could shoot like a whole deal without the other person there and just edit it together and make it look like. So that scene was shot at like 2 different times a day. Like, they were like, well, not really 2 different times a day. They were like an hour and a half apart. But it was pretty cool though. It was a lot of fun. And I'm excited to do it again. There's some fun stuff that we're gonna do with Johnny Xerox is gonna have some fun. We got Klepto Joe is gonna have some fun. He's got some issues to resolve. I mean, it's all gonna carry over.
Missing in the last episode.
Yes, exactly. He went missing, and there was an evil good guy who might have had something to do with that.
Ooh, all right. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Owen Brody is all about?
I mean, I would go look at like one of my favorite matches, obviously the Mike McCarthy Syndicate Gauntlet from Let's Wrestle. That one was one of my favorites. Another one that's really good. Unfortunately, I don't have the footage, so it's the entire show for Impulse Pro Wrestling. It was the entire show from July 13th of 2019. In the middle of that show, I think it's like an hour and a half in, I wrestled Danger Kid, and we had a lot of fun. So that was a blast. And then I would definitely, like, you can find, I put all our Syndicate promos on YouTube because we just think they're hilarious. And honestly, I think all the views are just us going back to watch them. So the Syndicate videos, like, if you look at like my whole contribution to wrestling, it's like those matches and the Syndicate promos, because like it's just fun stuff. Like, we have a blast. So I would think if you want to get a good picture of who Owen Brody is, you need to watch some of those, and you need to watch a couple matches.
All right.
And anything on the road too. Actually, the tag match with me and B.A. Tatum against Big Calix and Boomer Hatfield, that match was a blast, and I really enjoyed that match too. That's one of my favorites. That's probably my favorite tag match with B.A. Tatum, actually.
All right. And we are nearing the conclusion of this interview. So we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Ooh, 8 questions of doom.
No actual doom to be incurred.
Okay.
This is our bonus round, our speed round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready, Owen?
I'm ready. I'm scared, but I'm ready.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Bret Hart.
Worst wrestler of all time.
Ooh, worst wrestler of all time. Man. I'm thinking of so many like bad ones right now. Jerry Flynn, not Jerry Lynn, Jerry Flynn. Remember Jerry Flynn from WCW?
Jerry Flynn, as in Roddy Piper's chosen teammate for Uncensored 98 before the Horseman stepped in. Jerry Flynn.
Yes, Jerry Flynn. He was bad. He was the first bad one that came to mind.
That's the first time we've got that answer.
I think it's because I just saw like a GIF of him on like one of the WCW like Twitter accounts. I was like, that's funny.
Your main
I mean, he dug in the crates for it, though. He dug in the crates for it.
Right.
Your main event in WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Finn Balor.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
The NWO.
Sweet. Or too
sweet.
Wait a minute, Wolfpack or the original?
Or Voodoo Child.
It would be tough, but I would have to go OG NWO.
I can't even knock it. I can't even act. Although the Wolfpack is like so laid back, I can see that like that's like the six-fold Chevy Impala music, right?
Yeah. So
that gets back causing mass destruction.
They are, and it's funny because like when we were trying to think of like what music to use for the Syndicate, one of my prerequisites is that it has to be something I can Scott Hall walk to, or I don't use it.
And that is a great way to pick music.
It is. Of like I can't Scott Hall walk to it. We ain't using it.
Are you including music from his time in the AWA?
I'm not familiar with what music he used then. I do actually.
I'm not sure either.
He almost because he came out to Ready or Not by the Fugees one time for ECW.
Really?
Almost, Scott Hall did. Yeah, look that up. Because it's a dope track, and I was like, man, we gotta find like if we could find like a dope like metal cover, like something that's got like some more substance to it, that would be cool. But we never did.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is
alive if you believe it.
Squash, fruit or vegetable?
Match type.
I will accept that answer.
Yes.
That is better than vegetable.
It is.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
It's gotta cover full cheek for sure.
Everything covered.
Yep, everything covered.
Alright. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
About Darby Allin? No. The only time I've ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket was I was wearing a Rusev Day shirt, and he was like, "Oh man, he's gonna win the title tonight," and I was like, "Okay," because I wasn't sold that he was gonna win the title, but this guy definitely was.
Wait a minute, was it against Darby Allin for the TNT Championship?
No, but that's the closest I could get.
Oh
no! Wow!
I'm 1 degree away.
Damn it!
I mean, you're right. He's a world champion, just a TV world champion.
Right.
So close. But that is the correct answer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us.
Thank you guys. I mean, it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. You guys are really easy to talk to, and it's been a good time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And what? Once again, where can we find you on social media? Your merchandise, your Twitch channel, the whole shebang.
Yeah. So merchandise, you can go to Pro Wrestling Tees. You can type in Owen Brody, or you can type in the Syndicate, and you can get some sweet Syndicate shirts. And then on Twitter, I am at the Owen Brody. And on Twitch, I am also at the Owen Brody.
And once again, you can find all those links in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. You've been listening to him for an hour and 45 minutes. By a damn short. And if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment both on YouTube and Castbox. Of course, this episode was sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code WRESTLINGWITHE for 10% off your next purchase. Join us this Saturday for our preview and review show. Join us next Wednesday for our interview with Robin Renegade. Until then, you can follow us on, you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling with E for all the news and happenings. And you can follow us individually. I am at JamesJ993. Where can they find Kaliko?
You can find me returning to some sense of normalcy at I Am Kaliko.
And where can they find Scooter Dust?
As always, they can find me under their beds. And they can find me, of course, on Twitter at ScooterDust. And find me on Twitch as part of the Smoking Dragons, ran by none other than the son of former WWE superstar Rico Constantino Jr. Come watch us play Knockout City, Among Us, and everything in between, as well as some Dungeons and Dragons in there. There's 20 sides to every story. Come be a part of ours, twitch.tv/Smoking Dragons.
And the remix as well.
And yes, the remix. The remix, bringing you the hottest alternate commentary live streaming audio podcast that no one has been able to top in 7 years.
And for our very special guest, Owen Brody, Coleco Yachts, Scooter Dust, I'm James Shea, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment. Oh, I jumped the gun.
Oh, zombie!
What a heel.
Let's take take two. You could say entertainment, okay?
Okay, perfect.
This has been Owen Brody, Coleco Yachts, Scooter Dust. I'm James Shea, and you've been listening to Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Zombie!